Hello everyone, today we'll be discussing a really unique tag in EU4 called Tafilalt. So here's why I think that Tafilalt is a unique and valuable tag to play. Tafilalt is a Maghrebi tribal government tag that is normally ruled at the beginning of the game by Morocco, and Morocco usually rivals the Iberian states of Castile, Portugal, and potentially Aragon, at least one or two of them. And it's not in a position to get really any allies. It could rival Tlemcen or Tunis, and the thing that you can do is get the Iberians like Castile and Portugal and Aragon to support you in independence. So that's exactly what I did. What also makes Tafilalt very unique is its gold mine. So in its capital it has a gold mine. It can generate 6 ducats per month, and in the early game this will give you enough money to field an army easily of like 10,000 soldiers. OPMs that have no strong income typically have to reduce their army size below 6, ally people, go into debt, debase, and they get very little amounts of ducats when they debase, right? So what we've done here is played as a tag that's tribal. We can ultimately reform into a horde, and that would be something that's really interesting to us. We have the ability to ally Portugal, Castile, and Aragon. Later on, most importantly, Portugal and Castile, because Aragon usually gets inherited by Castile in the Iberian wedding, right? So in this case, if we wanted to go colonize, we are Sunni, and we don't have to deal with the Treaty of Tordesillas negative modifier that comes when you are Catholic and you're allied to Castile or Portugal, and you need to be allied to them, and you're trying to colonize. Maybe you're traditionally trying to be like HRE and colonize, and you're allied to them, but you suddenly get all these malices. So maybe those malices could be removed by simply playing in the New World as a Catholic with a capital in the New World, right? But what we have is the ability to move to the New World. Rebel convert to Animus, which is a little bit harder for like non-pagan religions like Christian or Islamic faiths. But we just have to get an Animus to siege our capital, meaning that we have to move our capital to the New World, and moving our capital to the New World requires us to have only one province that's isolated from other land territories. It's the last state on the continent. So normally if you want to do this as, say, England, you have to move your capital to St. Helena Island, which is technically in Africa, or maybe have one province like Grain Coast on the west coast of Africa. Other provinces include South Georgia or Bermuda, and then people usually move to like South America or maybe North America, right? But anyway, in this case, you would move to the Venezuela region where like Arawak and Carib are, or you would move to the Brazil region, and you'd conquer the native tribes there that have animist religion. You would let them siege down your capital, and you have a small amount of dev in the old world, very small. Then you let them siege down your capital, you become animus. You try to do this efficiently without going bankrupt, things like that. Now you'd be able to fight the Mayan faith provinces and win the war with 100% war score, then offer tribute and convert to Mayan. This gives you all the Mayan reforms like national unrest, infantry combat ability, most importantly, core creation cost reduction. So we are tribal, and we have the potential to get core creation to cost reduction. We can form a colonial formable, basically. So we could essentially conquer the Mexican region, Peru with the Inca, different Andean civilizations. You can conquer the Creek in the southeast and give that land while you're tribal but not a horde. to your colonial nations, right? And your colonial nations will do the coring, which will save you a ton of admin. Then, when you get ready to move your capital, you could sell all your provinces and move your capital straight to the Animus part. Rebel convert to Animus, become Mayan, and then when you have the requirements fulfilled, like say for Alaska, 6 provinces in Alaska, some in the Panhandle, some in like the upper region, you simply click the formation decision and you inherit all your colonies instantly. Now you have many armies, you can choose which ones you want to delete. You have full cores on all of America. If you didn't choose to actually take a lot of land, you can just not worry about it because it wasn't that much development, and you can full state the lands you want. Like for example, the gold mines in Mexico, really good, as well as Potosi in the south of Peru, in the Bolivia region, where the Inca and Charca, Pacaja, those kind of civilizations were. And once you do that, you have like 40 ducats per month easily. You can state like the cocoa provinces and get a lot of trade income. You're in a position then to pretty much like just conquer colonies that Spain and Portugal had set up. If you were Tafilalt, for example, because you were allied to them. The difference with other tags that might try to do this strategy, if they don't have something like an advantage, like being part of the HRE, or otherwise just strong allies as a buffer to protect them that would exist in Europe, then they have to deal with Spain and Portugal declaring on them. This is the same thing that's true if you start out in the New World as like a native tag like Tarascan, or one of the Creek tags like Cado. You have to, unite your home region and conquer, try to form a horde and raise, or just like conquer Mexico, Peru. And then you have no allies. There are no good allies in the New World unless, because you're trying to conquer to unite them. Or you are allying some people, like maybe the Iroquois, Huron, but they don't have a lot of good tech development because they have to go through religious reforms if it's El Dorado, or the native tribes have to like finish their federations, and what they do is they go with federation and they have to reform off like an adjacent like European neighbor. So trying to ally them in the long run is a foolish idea, because Spain can easily get like 150,000 troops in the 16th century. They're a great power, they're lucky. Portugal can get like 60,000 troops, build up a strong colonial empire with like Brazil, and they get a lot of bonuses to colonization. So they're lucky, basically. If you look at real life history, of course, Portugal had like a massive empire, not just with the Tordesillas Treaty of what we think of normally like Brazil, but they also had like many outposts in Africa. They had outposts in Oman, in the Moluccas region. So Portugal might seem geographically like a small country, but had a very powerful impact in that period of the Siglo de Oro. And of course Spain did, with ruling a lot of Latin America. And having, at the time, Charles V had control of the Holy Roman Empire technically, and Spain was the superpower of that time period. So with the native tribes, you would want to pretty much like get exploration and go to the Pacific, like go to where Haida is in Alaska, or go to Hawaii and get a border in the Philippines area, or in Taiwan with China. And then you might want to also do the same thing with the Andamanese Islands. You might want to go east towards Kilwa, but the bottom line is you want to have adjacency so that you can Royal Marry and ally these very powerful states. Like it could be Ming, or it could be Wu and Yue. If Ming collapses, they're still powerful. Ming is better, but it's rare RNG that you get a Ming AI that survives. And Ming doesn't really want to attack you. They can be friendly towards you. It's a pretty good situation, different kind of relationship than if you're, say, Oirat starting out in the game. So once we do that, you have enough buffers and allies, and you've conquered enough of the Americas as a native to kind of be safe from Spain, and maybe even start like taking the fight in certain situations to them. That is a big digression, right? Because we're talking about Tafilalt, but I've done a campaign. I've shown just the raw footage on this YouTube channel of Mutapa, and Mutapa has a lot of gold mines. You can get your dev just to like 90 by giving all the land to Butuwa, have a colonial range with Tio and the Congo coast to South America, set up colonies, and then you make it to setting up like Inca, setting up Mexico, as I said, doing a lot of conquest, and then you have to bird, you have to alt F4 basically, because you're getting attacked by Spain. You can't win. It's very RNG dependent, because there are campaigns where Aragon could go to war with Spain. They could win, they can take most of Castile, and then there is no Spain to speak of really as like a powerful colonizer. I've seen Aragon even colonize a bit, but they don't get as far into it necessarily. Their ideas are just not geared to it. The AI is just not like weighted towards it. But basically, you could be playing Mutapa, have all this gold, but you don't necessarily have good allies. You have good position to colonize maybe east, like I was talking about earlier. But if you're really rushing to form America or a colonial tag and get this cool inheritance trick and go Mayan Horde, you can't really, get allies. Like with Tafilalt, it's a very unique situation because you can ally via support independence. Normally, Spain and Portugal would not want to ally a minor tag, but technically this ropes them in at getting allied to you. It's kind of like, even if Burgundy didn't want to stay allied to you, you can always just ally them at the beginning, royal marriage, and get that Diplo slot that you're going to get slotted out of if they marry like 4 different tags and ally 4 different tags and get their Diplo relations maximized, right? So, to summarize, like, Tafilalt is really good for this colonial focus, right? And you can switch religion if you want. I've personally attempted to take the gold mines of Air, which is like a tag of Tuareg people in the Sahel region, and you don't have good allies in that case. That's another good contrast. I had like multiple colonies, 160 development, but my nearest ally was Mamluks. The Mamluks usually get attacked by the Ottomans. They always lose. They always go under. So the distance, you can just not ally like Ottomans. Granada can ally Ottomans. Tunis, of course, can ally Ottomans, but not like the country of Air. So the thing is, basically, the fact that you can get your 2 main would-be enemies on your side to colonize is what makes Tafilalt a very unique tag. And it's small enough that you can convert religion, you can move your capital, and it's got tribal, so you can become a horde. And the advantage of having gold mines is just a big deal. Now again, Mutapa is better because you already start pagans. You don't even have to do that shift I talked about. Tafilalt, though, is just more Iron Man friendly because you're not going to get declarations of war by Spain. If you carefully manage your economy and your soldiers and which targets you attack in the New World, since you have that base tech advantage of 3 tech, you get up to 5 tech, 6 tech, maybe 8 mil tech, and the Aztecs and all these other Mesoamerican groups might have only like tech 5 because of their institution disadvantage. You can just carefully like divide and conquer, make colonial nations, move your capital, just sell all your provinces, including the Tafilalt Gold province, when you're about to move your capital. Have a few colonies in like Alaska, form Alaska, get 20 core creation costs, your national ideas, right? And then you have a horde with like 65 CCR. You could also do just like 60 CCR, 65. It really depends, because like you can get up to 70 CCR for sure with Mayan, the centralized state government reform tier, with administration ideas and with the Alaskan ideas. You can get 65 with like Brazil, for example, because they have 15% core creation cost reduction. So it's really up to you. I mean, in general, maximizing core creation costs is really good. Getting horde raising is good because it pays for, even with low core creation cost reduction, it pays for a lot of the cost of coring, if not all, or if you don't get like a profit in admin. Like you can basically be in the New World, take over colonies which don't provide overextension, like Spain and Portugal's colonies. Those lands that were settled from empty provinces don't have overextension. So you can be gaining mana that you can use to fill out your mill, diplo, and admin idea groups. You can catch up, you can counteract incidental corruption that you might get. I tend to get a lot of corruption. So this is a very convoluted way to say that like hordes are really good, CCR is good, you have the tribal government that allows you to reform into a horde. If you start out with a horde, like for example, if you start out with Oirat, you become Kalka, maybe Jianzhou in Manchuria, you then like just have the perfect situation. Even Sarigyo, these small tags that are hordes, but they don't have good economies to start out. Mutapa, for example, does have a good economy. He has a ton of gold mines, has access to, and you can dev them up and still get your dev under to become Mayan Religion, because Mayan Religion requires that your province war score cost is under 100, and I've been able to multiple times with varying amounts of dev just like swap my faith from like a pagan faith, animist, fetishist to Mayan, stuff like that. You could do Tengri, of course, but usually you're not like going straight from Tengri to Mayan. Like if you're gonna colonize as like a Siberian miner, you're gonna probably colonize in Indonesia, go Hindu, and then later come to the Americas. Or you might go straight to the Americas like a lot of people do in the Three Mountains, and you do become Mayan. Really depends on your economic situation, but the bottom line is most tags suffer their economy. I think that, you know, like I was playing a campaign where I released and played Desmond, a similar way to what I'm showing in this video. And Desmond is like a Irish minor tag. It's the best one for its national ideas, and it's got province war score cost minus 10%. It's got core creation cost minus 10%, national manpower modifier, morale of armies. Altogether great set for conquering the world, basically. And you know, it's a very different experience, and it's kind of unique to start as Desmond, start from opium status, and then conquer the New World, conquer Africa, make all of these like a colonial empire, rather than start as like Oirat or some super tag, and then just culture shift Irish with the easiest possible tags you can play, or a European major. It could be Castile, England, could be Austria, and you revoke the privilege, you form Kalka, you get horde, you start raising. You can just do whatever you want in those kind of campaigns, because you're playing as the most powerful tags in the whole world. Shift your culture. At the end of the game, form like Tibet, if you like Tibet, form Armenia, form Georgia, form, you know, Ireland in this case. But it's not the same thing as actually playing as Karabakh at the beginning of the game, or playing as Desmond at the beginning of the game and actually achieving a world conquest. So in this particular situation, what I'm going to basically be showing, or I have been showing, is how I allied Spain and Portugal. I raised relations with them during this situation where I'm breaking free from Morocco. I maximize relations so I really get them to like me, and I get it with like Portugal, it could be like 160 relations, Spain like 110 because they're kind of easygoing. Why do I need this? Well, obviously I need them to support me just during the course of the Independence War, which of course they're going to do. I win a decisive battle at the beginning where I have a 5-fire monarch, and then like I retake a siege of Tafilalt of the Moroccans, and the Moroccans have Marrakesh and they have Sus, and it's a very decisive battle because the Spanish, Portuguese, and Aragonese are all up in Ceuta, and they're up at like Meknes and Fez. These are northern forts that are blocking with zone of control their ability to get to me. So with Marrakesh and Sus and Morocco, it totals like 17,000 maybe units. I have like max like 15 to 17,000. I'm over force limit, losing money every month, some debasing, a lot of loans. There's a legitimate risk if I lose Tafilalt even for a short period of time. My development calculation of loans, I can instantly go bankrupt. And also, of course, when your development increases, then your loan calculation, number of loans, it's fewer loans, greater loan size. So if you've taken like 60 loans of like 3 ducats, all of a sudden your dev has risen to like taking 30 loans, or it could be like 18 loans where each loan is worth 45 ducats. You're technically over the cap of how many loans you could take, and you can't take any more loans as such. It's kind of like a very precise situation. You need like tactical safe bankruptcies, or you need to take war reps, you need to consolidate loans, but you need to watch out when your dev is growing as a result of conquest if you're really running in the red. And that can really happen with like New World native tags like I discussed, or it could be like a really minor European tag like Theodoro or Desmond where you don't have a gold mine. I mean, really getting a gold mine is the gold standard, no pun intended, because you're just generating enough gold that you could even like root out corruption you may incur early in the game due to like liquidity crunch, right? Or you can basically like deal with a lot of costs that you normally wouldn't be able to field armies of a certain size given a certain development, because gold is just that valuable in the early game. It kind of is like a constant supply of money, so you can dev more mines and get that early constant benefit. But the scalability of gold income late game falls to like trade, goods produced, silk, cloves, and these things like controlling the Cape of Good Hope in Africa. So gold mines are really good. And what was very tricky with this campaign, or the part of the campaign I'm showing you, is that I had to basically win that fight, and then I had to quickly spread over all the lands and win the siege of Marrakesh so I could spread over the lands leading to Salé. Salé has just enough colonial range that I can take the westernmost province of Provence, which is, they call it A, I think, and then Toulon is right next to it, right? And Foucault-Couillet is north and to the east of it. But basically, what I'm taking advantage of is the fact that I have colonial range with a C, with this no CB war with Provence later on, and then I can just core A from Salé. I tried this with Garb and some of the other provinces that are a little further away. They're just over the colonial range, and I can't get like a colonial advisor to improve the range. I was like screwed basically. But I sieged down all of these provinces after winning that siege before the Spanish and Portuguese win Fez, because if they take all these provinces, I can't apportion them out later as I want, and they might block a land path for me to even get with the province war score cost from like Meknes and like these provinces like Demnate straight to Salé. So I really needed Salé. I really needed to take all his provinces. And then in the peace treaty, I really needed to make both Portugal and Spain happy. And I had to like bird a lot. I had to Alt F4 a lot because Portugal was always unhappy. And like they would always turn hostile. They wouldn't give me mill access. And there's no way in a reasonable amount of time I'm building fleets to get to like Aragon and ferry my troops over. No, we're trying to get like the fastest possible way to go like conquer Provence in time and the opportunities of the essence, because France wants to get them. France loses their truce in 1450 with Provence. So basically I had to keep both Portugal and Spain happy. And once I found that the relations were high enough, I gave them enough provinces to keep them happy, then I had the ability to cross. And I also had to raise relations with France, and then I had to bird a few times because France would cancel my mill access. But it just lucked out that like after enough tries I was able to get through Ceuta. I gave Castile Gibraltar, and my troops just raced all 17 of them. I kept them all. I debased as necessary. My economy held out just long enough for me to decisively raise maintenance, go right to Toulon, and then I parked troops in Foucalquier. I had to win a decisive battle at Toulon, and then I had to win in Foucalquier, and use that stack to make the armies of Provence and Saluzzo scared. So like I would just like reinforce when they tried to attack Toulon, and I'd reinforce that stack, and then I moved all the units once I sieged down Toulon to Foucalquier. I sieged down Saluzzo by winning a battle like right there, and then I stack wiped the Provençal armies and everyone's armies, and then I got like 68 war score. I finished on Saluzzo. I took Foucalquier A and Saluzzo, very good provinces. We're talking about the Genoa node here. And then I release Saluzzo. I get a decent leader. I'm tribal now. I can go to the Americas. I can leave the HRE. They changed the game so you can't get elected with tribal government as Holy Roman Emperor. So I have access to the strongest node in Europe aside from the English Channel. And I am one of the strongest tags, Saluzzo, with aggressive expansion impact reduction and core creation costs, infantry combat ability, morale of armies, trade power, Genoa node. Really, I've just got everything for a very strong world conquest. Most Saluzzo runs are monarchies, so you don't get to raise. So, to summarize, what have we learned today? We've learned that Tafilalt is a very unique tag that starts out in the Maghreb as a tribal, and it has the reach, just barely, at the beginning of the game with colonial range to core and take maritime provinces in the Mediterranean that are ruled by like European powers, and it can annex minors that way. And when it releases these minor tags, they become tribal. And normally you'd have to do something like start a Circassia, or maybe start as Carcoenlu, move your capital, sail to Ireland to feasibly like make some tribal tags, or you can attack East Phrygia and make some tribal tags there if you're interested in like some stateless society or horde gameplay. But we managed to snipe Provence, and we managed to directly just take Saluzzo with a land chain from Provence, and the alternative would be you start as the Great Horde and you try to vassalize Provence, which has very high province war score cost, and then you have to find them at a time where they're not involved with France in an alliance, and then you have to otherwise wait until the HRE has Italy leave with the Shadow Kingdom, and subsequently, you know, Saluzzo might ally Venice, Provence might ally all kinds of powerful tags. This time they were diplomatically isolated. We seized the opportunity. So Tafilalt is a very strong tag with a gold mine, and it has the ability to colonize a new world with that gold mine, stay allied so you don't have to bird and alt F4 so much with the colonizers of Spain and Portugal getting mad at you. If you can keep that alliance going, you don't have Treaty of Tordesillas issues, and we have taken one of the most interesting OPMs in the game, Saluzzo, and turned it into a tribe that could have really strong national ideas and become a horde that does a one faith. It's starting in the new world and getting Mayan religion. Thank you for watching. I hope you appreciated this. More videos on the way.